Episode 41, The Fire Curse. After 10 o'clock in the evening, Ethan appeared in the room of requirement on time and got more than 10 pieces of parchment from Peter. These were all written by him today. The main writing in the past 2 days was about transfiguration and alchemy, and now he is writing about spells and potions. The principle and use of the fiend fire curse are what Peter wrote today. At this rate, Peter's brain will be drained out by tomorrow. After asking for a room to practice magic, Ethan walked into it. There were several large targets inside, which were specially used for testing magic. In addition, there was only a set of tables and chairs for resting as a rest area. In the rest area, Ethan read Peter's records about the fiend fire curse and his experience of successfully performing it. When learning the fiend fire curse, you don't need a spell, but you have to remember the specific magic route and release this magic power. The most important thing is to have the emotion of destroying everything in your heart, release the inner desire for destruction, and transform it into a substantial flame to burn everything. Emotion is the most important thing. If the emotion is not strong enough, it cannot be released successfully. However, due to the strong desire for destruction, the fiery curse is extremely difficult to control and can easily hurt himself. Ethan ended up with this. He cannot use it when his emotions are not strong enough, but it is extremely difficult to control it when his emotions are too strong, so the usage rate is not very high, but Ethan does not have this worry. First of all, according to the ability of the talent Heart of Darkness, while improving the black magic talent, the use of black magic does not require any emotional assistance. In other words, as long as he masters the magic operation mode of the fiery curse, Ethan can release the fiery curse whenever he wants. And the talent Flame Affinity gives Ethan the natural control over fire magic, and the two together are simply perfect. But for the first time, Ethan still needs to use emotional assistance to find the feeling of release, and then remove this step when he finds the feeling. Start running according to the magic route written by Peter on the parchment, and then condense the emotions of destruction and destruction into flames. Soon, a wisp of heart-pounding red flame floated out from the top of the wand and expanded rapidly. Although there were not many combustibles around, Ethan's magic power was the best fuel. The flames continued to spray out until the surrounding tables, chairs, targets, etc. were burned into a sea of fire. In this process, Ethan also constantly controlled the direction of the flames and finally turned it into a fire tornado that revolved around him. If Ethan could pay attention to the panel at this moment, he would see that in just a moment, the proficiency level of the fiery curse had jumped to 3. It can only be said that the multiple learning talents, black magic talents, wizard talents, spell talents, thinking ability improvements, plus the increase in the talent of Heart of Fire, are too terrifying. As the flames became more and more vigorous, Ethan not only did not feel that he was about to lose control, but on the contrary, he became more and more handy. Until Ethan completely cut off the supply of magic power, the fire stopped expanding, but Ethan still had control. Gradually, the fire tornado began to separate, turning into creatures such as fire phoenixes and fire dragons, and let these creatures run around the entire transformation site. During this process, Ethan had a lot of fun. Is this a magical transformation? After a little thought, Ethan felt that it was not. After all, the transformation of magic is to perfectly change its essence, not just to have a form. Now this is just the characteristic of the fiery curse. The transformed appearance is a fire phoenix or a fire dragon, and the components are still fiery fire, without the slightest ability of a fire dragon or a fire phoenix. Mjolnir. There was a thunderous sound in my ears, and the thunder hammer with a diameter of more than 10 meters fell down. The fire phoenix in the air was directly smashed into sparks all over the sky. These sparks did not extinguish but fell on the ground. And with Ethan's thought, these sparks quickly gathered to form a giant wolf formed by flames running on the ground. Sure enough, even in the face of powerful magic attacks, the fiery fire could not be extinguished. It still had to wait until the magic power was exhausted. Ethan guessed that the reason why the end of all curses could deal with magic like the fiery curse and fire escape was that it was essentially a spell that used one's own magic to eliminate magic, using magic to fight magic. The stop of curses was like this. Ethan had already learned this magic, which was used to cancel the casting of some other spells, and could also be used to resist the spells sent by the opponent. The end of all curses was an upgraded version of the stop of curses. As he became more and more proficient in the operation of the fiery curse, Ethan gradually walked to the side of the fiery curse, and his intuition told Ethan that he would not be hurt by the fiery curse. Trusting his intuition, Ethan put his hand into the body of the fire dragon composed of fiery flames and could feel the temperature rise, but there was indeed no damage. Not only that, even the wizard robe was intact. How stupid it would be to be hurt by your own magic. But when Ethan wanted to control the fiery flames to dissipate, he found that he still couldn't do it. The magic power in the flames had not been consumed, and he couldn't make it dissipate directly. Maybe when the fiery flames reached the full level, he could control it freely. Fortunately, it was not released outside. Otherwise, if there were too many flammable materials, all the spells would not be over, and who knows how big the burn would be. After consuming most of it, Ethan left the room of requirement. When observing the panel, he found that the fiery spell had reached level 6, which was the fastest upgraded magic. Episode 42, Hogsmeade. If you want your dream to come true, what do you need to do first? Wake up. As Ethan answered, the door of the common room opened. Where have you been? Walking back to the dormitory, Ethan suddenly heard a deep voice behind him, which vaguely revealed a hint of resentment. Suddenly, Ethan felt goosebumps. Who is this? Just now, I was only concerned about returning to the dormitory and didn't pay attention at all. Besides, no one would be in the common room at this time. Senior sister, please don't scare me. Turning around to see who it was, Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. Who scared you? I'm such a big person here, can't you see? Tell me, where did you go in the middle of the night? Penelope came to Ethan with her arms folded. This week, she felt that Ethan was not right. He got up late in the morning and looked like he didn't sleep well. On the first day, he said that he didn't recognize his bed. It was impossible for him to have insomnia. In order to find out, she deliberately came here to wait today, which meant that it was not good to run to the boys' dormitory in the middle of the night, otherwise she would have to go in and check. Night run. Ethan looked Penelope in the eyes and said with a firm face. Night run? It's almost 3 o'clock now. You told me that you went for a night run at this time. Do you think I have no brains? Just say you went on a date with that little witch. Senior sister may be able to cover for you. Penelope was so angry that her chest was about to grow, and her wizard robe rose and fell. It's late, senior sister, it's time to go to bed. Staying up late is the natural enemy of women. Ethan felt a headache. He was actually blocked today. Except for the first day, Ethan went out at about 10 o'clock and came back at 1 or 2 o'clock. Today, he thought he could get up later because he wanted to rest, so he came back late and didn't expect to be blocked. Stop talking nonsense and tell me honestly why you didn't come home at night. I'm the class leader. Penelope pointed to the class leader badge on her chest that rose and fell. Why are you meeting in the middle of the night? You're going to practice magic. Ethan had no choice but to tell the truth. What happened in the middle of the night was not a date, it was a hookup. In Hogwarts, the little witches Ethan knew, except for Penelope in front of him, it was illegal to attack anyone else. Practicing magic in the middle of the night? Penelope looked at Ethan doubtfully. In Hogwarts, there is actually no special place for practicing magic. It is not allowed to cast spells in the corridor. The open space outside the castle is allowed, but it is not necessary, because most magic is quiet and can be practiced in the dormitory. Well, if you want to go, I can take you to the common room at 10 o'clock tonight. There is nothing to hide about the room of requirement, as long as it is not known to everyone. Ethan only used it to practice magic, and it wasn't just for one room. Okay, at 10 p.m., the senior will be waiting for you here. Penelope smiled sweetly at Ethan and then walked into the passage back to the girls' dormitory. She had to go back to catch up on her sleep. Ethan sighed when he returned to the dormitory. The senior seemed to be a green tea. But there was nothing wrong with green tea. Sleep, sleep. I have an appointment with the Weasley twin brothers in the afternoon to go to Hogsmeade. Afternoon, 2:30. In the dark and narrow secret passage, Ethan and his group walked for almost an hour. The passage changed from stone walls to mud, and some water seeped down from time to time. This is a passage below the One-Eyed Witch, and the exit is in the basement of Honeyduke's store. It's in front. Fred, who was leading the way with the lighting spell in front, turned to Ethan and reminded him. Soon, Fred pushed open the cover above a secret passage, and Ethan and George followed him out. It was a place to store sundries. After using the cleaning spell to clean the dirt on his body, Ethan followed the twin brothers and soon came to the Honeyduke's candy store. They were quite familiar with this place. A scent of fudge came to him. The smell was indeed a bit tempting, but Ethan didn't really want to eat it. The cakes and candies here were too sweet. The only thing that felt good was the ice cream he had eaten in Diagon Alley last time. Entering the front hall where candy was sold, Ethan and others were not in a hurry to leave. Fred and his friends still had to shop here. In addition to the more common toffees, nougat, BB multi-flavor beans, and chocolate frogs, they also bought jelly slugs, cockroach piles, ice mice, toad-shaped cream mints, sour lollipops that can burn a hole in your tongue, and exploding candies. The reason they bought so much was not to eat, but to be a middleman. Even if you are in the 3rd grade or above, you have to be organized by the school and have your parents' consent to come to Hogsmeade Village. You can't come a few times a year. The products of Honeyduke's candy store are very popular among young wizards, so there is no worry about not being able to sell them. Of course, it is definitely not okay to be too expensive. In their words, it is not okay to make a lot of money, but it is okay to make some pocket money. Ethan finally understood why in a family like Weasley, who basically has no pocket money, the two of them still had money to gamble on the Quidditch Century Cup. It turned out that they really made money. Then Ethan followed the two to Zonko's joke shop. This time, the two did not go shopping spree. They bought 5 big dung eggs and left. According to them, 4 of them were for their own use. If Slytherin did something naughty again in the next Quidditch match, they would throw 2 of them on their long table and 2 on the door of their common room. The other one was promised to be given to Peeves, the one that was petrified by Ethan last time. At that time, Peeves was petrified for almost 3 days before it was released. Since Ethan was in the state of disillusionment at that time, Peeves could not see and could only target the twins. In order to appease it, the twins promised to take the dung egg to it as soon as possible. Afterwards, Ethan followed the twins to the 3 broomsticks to drink butterbeer. This felt like a drink without much alcohol. It tasted good and Ethan bought some. Moreover, the owner of the 3 broomsticks was a widow in her 40s who still had charm, so when Ethan and his friends went there, it was quite lively and full of middle-aged and elderly wizards. Then it was Bruce's pet shop. The twins knew the boss too. With their introduction, Ethan bought all the frogs in the shop as live feed, spending 15 gold galleons. I don't know the exact number, but there are thousands of them, all of which were placed in the oversized fish tank that Ethan prepared in advance in the box with the traceless expansion spell. This traceless expansion spell box was not taken from Dennis and his friends, but was made by Ethan himself later. The area is a little smaller than Ethan's 4-person dormitory. After all, learning is the first priority. The fish tank was also transformed by transfiguration, and the enhancement spell was also released, which can last for half a month. The last oil is even simpler. It is sold in the grocery store. It is a special oil for potions. Episode 43, Making Potion. Ravenclaw Dormitory. Ethan looked at his 3 sons with a doting face and said slowly, "I'll give you a chance to make money, do you want it?" Bafe brainwave up agent. This Ethan did not plan to make by himself. Although the whole process of making the potion is not troublesome, it takes a lot of time. Ethan is unwilling to spend his time on this. He is not Snape, a greasy middle-aged man who plans to live with potions for the rest of his life since Lily's death. A chance to make money? Terry took a step back and asked carefully. Although Ethan's eyes were incomprehensible, he was definitely not well-intentioned, and making money made him have bad ideas. Although this country is very open, he has no such idea at all, and he is only 11 years old. What about you two? Ignoring Terry, who had the wrong idea, Ethan turned his head to look at Michael and Jean. Speaking of talent in potions, Michael is the strongest among the 3, and Jean and Terry are both average. Who doesn't want a chance to make money, right? Jean said affirmatively, holding Michael's shoulders. Although he was from a wizard family, his pocket money was still limited. Why not have more galleons? Michael also nodded, or he was more active than Jean. Although 100 galleons a year was enough, if he wanted to stay in the wizarding world in the future, the more galleons the better. Then follow me. Ethan walked into the small suitcase. To make simple potions, you don't need to go to the room of requirement. There are 4 sets of crucibles and some auxiliary small tools in the whole dormitory, which are completely enough, and making potions does not require much space. If you are not afraid of dirtying the dormitory and having a strange smell, you can make potions in the dormitory. This is a traceless expansion spell. My family also has such a suitcase and a tent. It looks small, but there is a lot of space inside. Jean explained to the 2 roommates who cast doubtful eyes at him. But Jean clearly remembered that Ethan was from a Muggle family, so how did he have this box? Even I, who was born in a wizard family, didn't have any. Was there something wrong? See if these frogs still have oil? Use them to make potions. 1 galleon for each pot. Ethan said slowly as he looked at the 3 people who were slowly coming down. This price is definitely not low. Even if you use your spare time and nighttime to make it, the galleons you earn in a month are higher than the salary of Arthur Weasley, the head of the Ministry of Magic's Department of Prohibition of the Misuse of Muggle Artifacts. But the actual production volume still needs to be determined based on the sales volume. And a crucible is not just one portion, it can at least hold several small bottles. Okay, I'll do it. Michael was the first to express his opinion. Although he didn't even know how to do it, he must seize this opportunity. Let alone 1 galleon, he would do it even for 1 sikkim. They were both born as Muggles. From the moment of the sorting, he knew that Ethan's fate would definitely be different from his. Now it seems to be true, excellent grades, can talk to everyone in Ravenclaw, especially the senior, and knows the savior, and now he is playing potions, which makes him feel more pure than those purebloods. It's not shameful to cling to him. With Michael taking the lead, Jean and Terry also nodded and joined in. I'll do it first. Remember, bring the crucible in and boil the potion here. Remember, the potion formula cannot be leaked. At the end, Ethan's face was full of seriousness. The wizarding world also has intellectual property rights, such as the Potter family's ancestral shampoo, but it was sold later. But this intellectual property is for pure blood. You, a Muggle-born wizard, talk to them about intellectual property protection. Isn't this a joke? Ethan is sure that if Ethan went to apply for it himself, the information was submitted in the morning, and the formula was registered before lunchtime, and the inventor must be a pure-blood. We know. The 3 looked at each other and nodded affirmatively. Not to mention that the relationship between the few people is not bad, they don't have such an idea now, they just want to make some money. Even if you want to leak it, you have to think clearly about the consequences of offending Ethan. As a little wizard who is embarrassed and begins to show extraordinary talent, his future achievements will not be bad. After giving a few more instructions, Ethan started to act. Take a frog out of the oversized fish tank, then poke a knife into the back of its head, turn the hands holding the frog and the knife at the same time until the head is cut open, then use the knife to gently pick out the brain and put it in a container beside. This scene is indeed a bit disgusting, but potions are like this, and there are many disgusting ones. For example, the intelligence enhancement potion requires armadillo bile and crushed scarab beetles, while the shrinking potion requires caterpillars, cut into thin slices, mouse bile, and leech juice. Other potions are not much better. Didn't we use slugs yesterday? Repeat this action until 16 portions of frog brains are taken out, and Ethan stopped. Heat oil in a pan, that's right. Put the crucible on the alcohol lamp, add oil, stir it, and wait until it reaches the right temperature, then add frog brains. Fortunately, this oil is not vegetable oil or animal oil, otherwise it will become fried frog brains. After more than 10 minutes, Ethan picked up the crucible and extinguished the alcohol lamp, then began to stir the liquid in the crucible again. The liquid had turned green at this time. This time the production was still very successful. After it was completed, Ethan divided it into small bottles, a total of 4 bottles. Ethan picked up a bottle and pushed the remaining 3 bottles in front of them. Do you want to try it? It's a freshly baked potion that can improve brain power. Ethan, are you sure you won't die after drinking it? Terry picked it up and observed it carefully. As a Muggle, he instinctively resisted it. What would oil and frog brains cook? Do you dare to imagine what it would taste like? You will die if you drink it. Ethan drank it in 1 gulp. If you want to set a price, it must be based on the effect and duration. Seeing that Ethan had drunk it, the 3 of them did not hesitate and closed their eyes and drank it in 1 gulp. The taste was indeed a bit strange and a bit greasy. Then Ethan took the 3 back to the dormitory to test the specific effect. Ethan himself felt that it didn't seem to have any effect, but Michael and the other 2 clearly said that their memory and comprehension abilities had improved, but the duration was a bit short, only 20 minutes. When the time was up, the 3 were beaten back to their original form. After thinking about it, they decided to charge 5 gold galleons per bottle. The potions in Diagon Alley were not cheap. Wouldn't it be disruptive to the market if Ethan's potions were too cheap? In addition, this is the only one that can improve brain power, so take it or leave it. Anyway, we are in the business of pureblood or half-blood, and the proportion of Muggle-born little wizards in Hogwarts is actually not high. Episode 44, Beautiful Saleswoman. Senior, let's go. At around 10 o'clock, Ethan appeared in the common room and invited the senior on the sofa. I can let the big wave senior spend time with me alone at night, my damn charm. Let's go. Penelope stretched out her hand for Ethan to pull her up and followed Ethan out of the common room. In this Hogwarts, she was not afraid that Ethan would sell her out. After going down the spiral staircase, Ethan took out the Marauder's map directly. I solemnly swear that I have done nothing good. Pointing the wand at the Marauder's map and reciting the password, I saw lines of ink outlined on the parchment, among which Filch was on the west side of the 3rd floor, and Dumbledore was still in his office on the 8th floor. Penelope, who witnessed everything with her own eyes, was really shocked. There is such a thing that can know the location of everyone in Hogwarts. Isn't this prying into other people's privacy? No wonder Ethan dared to go out for a night tour unscrupulously. It would be strange if he could be caught with this thing. There was just one thing Penelope couldn't figure out. It was understandable for a pureblood to have such an alchemical tool, but Ethan was born a muggle like her, so where did he come from? Judging from how worn it was, it must have been quite old. Turning his head and looking at Penelope's puzzled eyes, Ethan explained. This is called the Marauder's map. You can activate it by reciting the password I just gave. You can see the effect. This was also made by students of Hogwarts, but they have already graduated. They were accidentally found by Fred and George and given to me. Fred Weasley and George Weasley? Even though they were not in the same grade, Penelope knew about the famous twins in Hogwarts. It was really that they were too cruel when deducting points. And their brother, Percy Weasley, had expressed his affection for her in the 3rd grade, but was rejected by her at that time. That's them. Are you close to them? This is obviously a rare alchemical item, no one would send it in casually. And Ethan and the twins can be said to have no connection at all. They are from different colleges and grades. One is born in Muggle and the other is born in pure blood. How can they have any intersection? Very familiar. We went to Hogsmeade together this afternoon. You also went to Hogsmeade? Penelope found that she couldn't understand Ethan more and more. What did he think of the rules of Hogwarts to confirm that he was a Ravenclaw instead of a Gryffindor? Yes, is there any problem with this? Ethan nodded calmly to confirm. Do you know that I am the prefect? How dare you say that in front of me? Penelope sighed. In front of this junior, her dignity as a prefect seemed to be completely gone. Senior sister, are you going to tell Professor Flitwick? Ethan turned his head and looked at Penelope with a smile. Penelope patted Ethan's shoulder, looked into his eyes, and said with a smile. Next time, I'll take you there. Sure enough, it's the senior who's the most flirtatious. The two chatted and walked all the way to the 8th floor. Are you taking me to the principal's office? Penelope didn't know what else was on the 8th floor except for the principal's office. And if you practice magic anywhere on the 8th floor, any noise you make will probably alert Dumbledore. Just follow me. Ethan continued to lead the way until he stopped opposite the giant monster club hitting Barnabas. Room of Requirement. Have you heard of it, senior? All Requirement? Penelope couldn't believe it. What place dared to say that all requirement was required? Walk back and forth in front of this wall 3 times, and it will respond to the room you need to hone in your heart. And everyone in Hogwarts knows that I don't like this place. Don't worry, senior sister knows. Now let me try if it's really that magical. Penelope said and walked back and forth 3 times, and then a smooth door appeared on the wall out of thin air. Ethan didn't know what room she was thinking of and followed Penelope with doubts. Are you a little girl? Ethan couldn't help but complain, which really subverted Ethan's influence on Penelope. I thought it was a room for practicing magic or full of books, but it turned out to be a crystal palace in a fairy tale. Any questions? Penelope was quite excited to visit it. When the girl was young, she didn't have a princess dream of a castle and crystal palace. It's a pity that the castle of Hogwarts emphasizes practicality and does not meet the requirements of a princess. After a round of walking, Penelope and Ethan opened a room for practicing magic together. Originally, Ethan wanted to separate from Penelope, but Penelope insisted on staying in the same room. Senior, drink this and try it. Ethan handed a small bottle of green potion to Penelope. This was the finished potion that Ethan guided Michael and others to make before coming here. Ethan wanted Penelope to advertise it after trying it. Even if a first-year wizard praised the potion to the sky, few people would believe and buy it, especially since the potion was worth 5 gold galleons. But the prefect was different. Her credibility in Ravenclaw was not low. What potion is this? Penelope held the potion and swung it for a long time, but she still couldn't figure out what it was. Love potion. Really? I don't believe it. Penelope swallowed it in one gulp. Do you really think she doesn't know about love potion? It's not this color at all. Buffy brain refresher. If you practice magic or study, this effect will come out. Ethan reminded her that it only lasted for a short 20 minutes. I'm learning the shield charm recently. Let me try it. After listening to the advice and eating a full meal, Penelope immediately went to practice. The shield charm, many graduates can't use it. It is considered a very difficult magic, but if you want to participate in the Auror selection, you must know the shield charm. After graduating, Penelope wanted to try to participate in the Auror assessment. Other magic departments don't matter, they basically can't get in, but in fact, Aurors are also difficult, but there is still a glimmer of hope. Ethan went to practice Fiery Blaze, preparing to reach the maximum level first and practice Mjolnir at the same time. Originally, she was practicing the iron armor, but suddenly she felt a heat wave coming, and then she looked at the scene over there with Ethan, and Penelope collapsed. Who was the first grader? Could this fire magic be used by the first graders? And why was the huge thunder hammer a little confusing? Can we be sure that we really went to the same magic school? Until the end of the practice, the flames began to dissipate and Penelope dared to walk towards Ethan. Ethan, what magic did you just use? Handing a handkerchief to Ethan to wipe his sweat, Penelope asked curiously. She knew that some magic was inherited from the family and would not be easily revealed, but Ethan was born a muggle like her. The fiery curse and Mjolnir, the latter is considered to be magic from ancient times. It is true that the fiery curse is dark magic, but it is not the unforgivable curse. Hogwarts does not teach dark magic, but it does not mean that learning and using dark magic is illegal. Only injuring people violates the rules. Senior pureblood, that person does not know 1 or 2 black magics, except for the unforgivable curse. I know the fiery curse. Is Mjolnir Thor's hammer? Penelope saw the record of the fiery curse in the library of the Ravenclaw Lounge, but there is no specific way to learn it. The description says that learning is not difficult, but the difficult thing is to control it, but it seems that Ethan controls it well. And Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, Penelope naturally knows about it. Norse mythology is quite popular in Europe, especially in Britain. In the early Middle Ages, this place was a key area invaded by those barbarians, so that many cultures of Britain overlap with Northern Europe. What's the situation with this potion? She didn't want to dwell on it. She didn't want to ask too much about magic, but Ethan gave her the potion on his own initiative. There must be a reason for this. And the effect was really good. During that time, I felt that my brain was particularly flexible. Some points that I hadn't noticed before were found out. Buffy brain refresher, 5 gold galleons a bottle. You sell a bottle, and I'll give you 1 gold galleon. How about it? In this way, Ethan made a net profit of almost 3 gold galleons per bottle. Frogs are not worth much, but the oil used for this potion is still relatively expensive, almost 1 gold galleon per portion. In addition to several roommates doing hard work, 1 gold galleon per pot, and if one pot is well controlled, it can be 5 bottles. In addition to Penelope, the Weasley twins can also help sell. They are quite popular in Gryffindor. So you want the senior sister to help you with sales? Penelope stared at Ethan with a smile on her face. But there was no reason to refuse. Of course, no problem. It cost 5 gold galleons in just 20 minutes, which was indeed a bit expensive. Penelope herself would definitely not be willing to buy it. But those rich purebloods or half-bloods were not among them. She knew how anxious her classmates were when facing O, W, L, S exams. If she knew about this kind of potion, she would definitely buy it. The profit from this is not small. It can be said that it is giving money to herself. Episode 45, Hot Pot. On Sunday, when Ethan took the Buffy brain refresher to the twins to discuss sales, he met Cedric through their introduction. They suggested that Cedric could be responsible for the sales of Hufflepuff Academy. Unlike the twins who are famous for their pranks in Gryffindor, Cedric is completely popular with Hufflepuff because of his excellent character and knowledge. Cedric, who has tested the effect of Buffy brain refresher, patted his chest and assured Ethan, "Hufflepuff will be left to me. You don't know that some of the 5th-year seniors are so anxious that they can't even eat." For Hufflepuff, not being able to eat is already a big deal. Although the 5 gold galleons are a little expensive, there are still many that Hufflepuff can afford. Magic potions are expensive, and you can't let others sell their magic potions at a loss. Cedric, we have introduced you to a good business, so you have to treat us to a good meal. Fred put his arm around Cedric's shoulders and showed a treacherous expression. The 4 schools of Hogwarts usually eat in the Great Hall, and the food is the same. It is not rich, but not bad. However, Hufflepuff is close to the kitchen and has a good relationship with the house elves, so they can cook their own food. But many badgers don't like this, thinking that it is too troublesome for the house elves. They will only choose to cook their own food in the common room when it is worth celebrating or someone's birthday. Now the twins want to rely on Cedric's relationship to prepare something good. Okay, I met Ethan today, it is indeed worth celebrating. Cedric nodded in agreement without hesitation. Can you prepare the ingredients and cook it yourself? Ethan asked. Compared with the old-fashioned fried steaks and lamb chops, Ethan is more like a hot pot. It is only about 10 degrees in the daytime, so it is suitable to eat hot pot. Before entering the wizarding world, Ethan often cooked hot pot at home in winter. Before coming to Hogwarts, I also brought some hot pot base, which I bought at a high price from an authentic Huxier restaurant in London's Chinatown. Unlike those that have been modified to suit the tastes of locals, his hot pot is quite authentic. Originally, I was planning to wait until the weather got a little colder and go to the Forbidden Forest to get some mushrooms and game for hot pot. Now I have the chance and I will not miss it. The house elves in the Hogwarts kitchen cook very well. We don't need to do it at all. George didn't believe in Ethan's cooking skills and immediately began to dissuade him. Hot pot, the Muggle delicacy in Dacia. I will write some ingredients to Cedric and ask him to go to the kitchen to make it. You will know after eating it. Ethan knew that these explanations were not clear. Even in the Muggle world, Dacia in this era was synonymous with backwardness in Great Britain, and there was no understanding of Dacia. Not to mention the closed wizard world, it is estimated that they don't even know where Dacia is. There are 11 wizard colleges in this world, 2 of which are in Asia, Xiaozi and the Middle East, and there is nothing about Dacia. Maybe they're all studying in the Taoist temple. Okay, you write it and I'll prepare it. But the kitchen doesn't have all the ingredients. Cedric scratched his head. He didn't understand what Ethan meant by hot pot, but he wouldn't spoil the fun of his new friend. George and Fred also felt novel, so they naturally wouldn't refuse. Ethan didn't write much either. He just cut beef and mutton into thin slices, shrimp, and then vegetables, wild mushrooms, lettuce, radish, potatoes, etc., and chili oil and sesame. After handing the note to Cedric, Ethan returned to the dormitory to get the hot pot base and brought butterbeer by the way. The way to enter the Hufflepuff common room is to knock on the wooden barrel. Led by Cedric, the group entered. It was lunchtime, and there was no one inside, just Ethan and the other 4. The dishes will be brought by the house elves later. What should we do next? I'll do it. It will be ready soon. Ethan set up the cleaned crucible, turned on the alcohol lamp below to the maximum, fried the hot pot base first, and then injected enough water into it. It's ready. When the dishes come, put the dishes in it and you can eat it. Is this a potion? Fred swallowed his saliva and asked in disbelief. It feels very spicy, but the taste makes people salivate. Is this thing really edible? The way Muggles eat it has nothing to do with potions. While answering Fred's words, Ethan used the freezing spell to cool down the butterbeer. Not long after, the house elves brought the dishes over, and the water in the crucible had already boiled. After Ethan made a simple dipping sauce with chili oil and sesame for everyone, he started to put the dishes in. By the way, he used transfiguration to create a clamp, which was specially used to pick up the dishes in the crucible. After all, they didn't know how to use chopsticks. Due to the limited ingredients here, there is no way to get other dips. Anyway, they have to prepare for the burning pain in some parts of their bodies tomorrow. Cedric and the other 2 watched Ethan eat beef and mutton in big mouthfuls after dipping it in chili oil. Finally, they couldn't bear the temptation. They tried to pick up a piece of meat and put it in their own dip. After taking a bite with a fork, they couldn't stop. They fished out the ingredients with shining eyes, eating nonstop while sighing. I say, can you slow down and eat some vegetarian food? Eating only meat is not good for the stomach. Ethan felt the pressure. These 3 were starving ghosts reincarnated. Not only did they eat fast, but they also focused on the meat. Burp. After drinking a mouthful of butterbeer, George said to Ethan while picking up the meat, "My stomach is very good. If your stomach is not good, you can eat more ingredients." Nellie, can you prepare some beef and mutton for us? Seeing that there was not much meat on the plate, but Cedric felt that it could still be eaten, he immediately asked the house elf for more dishes. Episode 46. Eating hot pot can bring success. Cedric, are you eating potions? The door of the Hufflepuff common room was opened, and several young wizards came in, talking and laughing. They were surprised to see Cedric and his friends pick something out of the crucible and put it on the plate and eat it with a red face. And their faces were all red, sweaty, and they were not in a good state. The leader immediately persuaded them when he found this. If you feel uncomfortable, you can go to the school hospital instead of making potions yourself. It should be said that Hufflepuff is worthy of being the most united college. York, I'm not feeling unwell, but eating it. It's hot and spicy, but it tastes better. Cedric answered while saying, "Shah," but he still didn't put down the tongs in his hand. That's right, York. Do you want to try it? It's really delicious. This is the way of eating that Ethan brought to Muggles. Fred also made an invitation. York Gladstone, the fifth-year class leader of Hufflepuff, also lives in St. Catchpole Village, and the two sides have a good relationship. Senior, you can come and try it. I believe you won't be disappointed. Ethan naturally doesn't mind adding one more person. If it doesn't work, add some crucibles. It's no big deal. If you get familiar with the people on Hufflepuff's side, it will be much easier to get something to eat in the future. York came to the side of a few people and greeted Ethan realistically. "Ethan Adrian, I know you. Welcome to the Hufflepuff Lounge." Then he sat next to a few people, prepared the dipping sauce under Ethan's instructions, and started eating. Hufflepuff is not a place where all the members are foodies, but there are many who like to eat, and York is one of them. When I first came in, I was too worried and didn't look carefully. Now I see Cedric eating, and I know that this thing is absolutely delicious. This is also the reason why York will sit down and eat without hesitation after lunch. Hiss. Spicy. But delicious. Adrian, you should come to our Hufflepuff, really. Just after swallowing the food in his mouth, York gave Ethan a thumbs up. No, York, you can't eat it by yourself. What should we do? The companions who came in with York were anxious. This guy saw the delicious food, but he didn't have his own share. How could the little badger bear it? Nellie, can you give me more like this? The crucible is so big that there is no room for several people. Now I have to leave, but I haven't eaten it yet. For this, York can only suffer the house elf. Sir, the kitchen still has dishes, but we don't have the soup. Nellie looked embarrassed. He also wanted to satisfy these little wizards, but he had never seen this way of eating, let alone making the soup. I still have the space. If you need it, I can give it to you. Ethan brought a large piece. He just used a part of it, and the rest can be used for 4 or 5 pots. Sir, can you give me a little bit, just a little bit? I want to try to make it. Nellie looked at the red butter block given by Ethan and immediately bowed to Ethan and asked, if hot pot can be brought into Hogwarts, it will definitely be a good thing, at least for Ethan. I don't know what Snape's expression will be when he sees everyone in the hall cooking hot pot with a cauldron. I really want to see it. Ethan agreed to Nellie's request immediately. With Ethan nodding, Nellie happily accepted a small piece and then operaed to the kitchen. He had to prepare dishes for these little wizards. You really should come to Hufflepuff. Looking at the scene, York couldn't help but sigh while trying to swallow the meat in his mouth. With this quality, unity and helpfulness, what else is more suitable for Hufflepuff than this? You don't know, Ethan has Newt Scamander's ability, which can make magical animals obedient. Fred revealed a piece of news that York had never expected and took away the meat that York had just put down. Really? York didn't care about eating these. Hufflepuff's worship of Newt Scamander was almost the same as Gryffindor's worship of Dumbledore. I do have this ability. There is nothing to hide. Sorting Hat, you are really damned. You actually sorted my Hufflepuff to Ravenclaw. York was extremely sad for a while, but then he turned his grief and anger into appetite and ate more fiercely. As more and more people entered the Hufflepuff common room, more and more people joined the ranks of eating hot pot. If Ethan hadn't brought enough hot pot base, I'm afraid this common room wouldn't be able to fit it. Now this hot pot has become popular in Hufflepuff, and Ethan believes that sooner or later it will be served on the long table in the Hogwarts Great Hall. During this process, an achievement was also completed, which Ethan had never expected. Potion? No, it's food. Making potions is actually the same as cooking. Master the order of adding ingredients, flip the spatula, control the heat, and accurately grasp the time to take it out of the pot, and a delicious dish, potion, will be ready. Achievement goal, make food with a crucible, 1-to-1. Achievement reward, improve potion talent. Episode 47, What Quidditch Do First Years Play? On Tuesday, the first-year wizards left Hogwarts Castle and came to the Quidditch field outside to prepare for flying lessons. In the morning spells class, Seamus still had a small accident and blew up the lock with the unlocking spell. Just tell me if it was opened or not. But it didn't have much impact, only he was a little blackened by the smoke and fire of the explosion. This class can be said to be the most enthusiastic class Ethan has ever seen, with groups of little wizards gathered together to discuss. Among them, Slytherin and Gryffindor were the most enthusiastic, and one by one they were telling their awesome riding experiences, so much so that Ethan and others in Ravenclaw heard it. They said they caught up with a plane on a broomstick. Have they really seen a plane? Listening to the boasting next door, Terry, who was born in a muggle, couldn't help it. Is it true? How awesome a broomstick must be to catch up with a plane. Anyway, he didn't believe it. Don't expect wizards to know much about the muggle world. Maybe he is just overtaking a toy plane. Ethan couldn't help it. He was a little too much. Fighter jets are measured in Mach speed, and civil aircraft have speeds of several hundred kilometers per hour. How can you sit still when a broom flies at this speed? However, the Muggle world has indeed developed too fast in recent years, and many wizards' concept of the Muggle world is still stuck in 100 or 200 years ago. Maybe they just heard the name of the plane and thought it was about the same speed as the old cars in the past. When you ride on the flying broom later, you must hold the broom handle in front of you with both hands. Beginners use it to control the direction and… Gene didn't understand the plane and didn't express his opinion. He just told a few people some precautions. He used the flying broom a lot when he was at home. When the class time came, Mrs. Hooch came to the court with dozens of flying brooms and distributed one to everyone. Just looking at the flying broom under his feet, Ethan wanted to complain. Where did the funds go? This broom is not only old, but the tail is almost bald, and there are obvious cracks on the broom handle. The antiques Ethan collected in the room of requirement are better than this. The teaching course begins. The first step is to call the broom in your hand. Ethan has no problem with the step, and the broom is easily in your hand. There are quite a few little wizards who can do this step. But Ethan clearly saw that Hermione's broom kept rolling and turning on the ground, but it just wouldn't get up. This made Ethan almost laugh out loud. She has no talent for flying at all. And Ronald is the same. Just now Ethan heard him and Harry bragging about how good they are at flying brooms, but now they have a catapult start and hit their heads directly. After about 10 minutes, everyone held the broom in their hands. Ethan also saw that a few of the clever ones used their toes to hook up the broom. Then Madame Hooch demonstrated to everyone how to ride on a broom without sliding off, and then began to correct everyone's holding of the broom. Okay, when I blow the whistle, you kick your legs off the ground, push hard, hold the broom steady, rise a few feet, then lean forward slightly and fall back to the ground. Listen to my whistle. However, before Madame Hooch shouted to start, Neville had already rushed out because he was too nervous. No matter how Madame Hooch shouted below, Neville just couldn't get down because he was already panicking. And he flew higher and higher, already shoulder to shoulder with the top of the Hogwarts tower. Accompanied by a scream, Neville fell from at least 20 feet high. This professor is really not good. I don't know if he is Dumbledore's relative. You should at least use magic to pull Neville down. Although wizards have a certain degree of magic resistance, you are an adult wizard and a professor. Can't you do this? Shock absorption. Ethan threw a deceleration spell and shot Neville, who was falling rapidly from midair. Bang! Neville landed face first in the bushes, but quickly got up. Madame Hooch checked and found that there was nothing wrong, just frightened. Fortunately, there was no teaching accident. I don't know what happened to this class of students. All kinds of situations happened one after another just after the start of the school. Ravenclaw, plus 10 points. Madame Hooch looked at Ethan with great appreciation and then announced loudly. Cassandra and Hermione looked over at the same time. Ethan actually took the lead in this flying class. I'm sending this child to the infirmary now. You put the flying broom back to its original place. No one is allowed to move, she said and helped Neville into Hogwarts Castle. Although Neville was not hurt, he was frightened now, so he had better take some tranquilizers. As in the original book, even though Neville had Ethan's help, the memory crystal ball still fell and was picked up by Draco, who was arguing with Harry. Crystal ball. Ethan didn't even have a wand, and he took the crystal ball from Draco with a light wave. Study hard in the first grade and participate in Quidditch. No matter the professors or the principals, they don't follow the rules. How can we let the students below follow the rules? You. The crystal ball in his hand suddenly flew away. Draco panicked at first, and then pointed at Ethan with resentment, but he couldn't say anything. After all, this is really unbeatable. He wanted to use his father to suppress the other party, but it was too shameful to say that he had to use his father to fight a Muggle wizard. Harry, pass it to Neville. Ethan threw the crystal ball in his hand to Harry, ignoring the incompetent and furious Draco. Leave it to me. Harry, who got the crystal ball, looked at Draco proudly. This made Draco even angrier. Originally, he wanted to use the crystal ball to tease Harry and make him ride the flying broom to embarrass himself, because he was hanging out with the damn Weasley and rejected the noble Malfoy. Such a good opportunity was ruined. He blamed Ethan for all this. When Madame Hooch came back again, because of Ethan's insertion, there was naturally no commotion, and one by one, they began to practice again under her command. When Ethan just flew up, he thought his balls would get stuck, but it turned out that he thought too much. There was a magic cushion on it, which could not be touched or seen at ordinary times, but could be felt when sitting on it. The cushion spell invented in 1820 pushed the flying broom forward a big step. I don't know if it's because of his good flying talent or because he was an old driver in his previous life. Ethan felt that this was not difficult. But before Ethan had played for a while, Cassandra rushed over and passed Ethan, leaving a provocative look. So she was looking for trouble? Ethan was unmoved and turned around to continue flying, but Cassandra was obviously unwilling to let Ethan go. After drawing a semicircle in the air, she caught up with Ethan again, just wanting to overpower Ethan. This scene also appeared at low altitude on the Quidditch field, with Ethan dodging and Cassandra chasing him. Episode 48. Is there giant monster excrement in the brain? By mid-October, Ethan still maintained the habit of going to the room of requirement to practice every day. Ethan had already returned the mouse Peter Pettigrew to Ronald. After many days of practice, the improvement was quite obvious. Name: Ethan Adrian. Age: 11. Bloodline: Wizard. Talents: Super Soul. A stronger soul brings higher learning efficiency and casting speed. Strong body: improve physical fitness and adaptability to magic through exercise. Heart of Darkness: improve black magic talent. Use black magic without any emotional assistance. Focus: greatly improve learning efficiency. Animal Affinity: also effective for magical animals. Fire Affinity: increase the control and power of fire magic and have a strong influence on fire magic. The deeper the understanding of the spell, the greater the improvement. Spells: Killing Curse, 10. Cruciatus Curse, 10. Imperious Curse, 10. Fiendish Flame, 10. Acclemency, 7. Mjolnir, 6. Armor Curse, 6. Stretch, 5. Siphon Energy, 5. Shadow Walk, 5. Transfiguration, 4. Petrification, 3. Disillusionment, 3. Spell of the Spell, 3. Potions, 3. Alchemy, 2. Fiendish Flame was finally maxed out. Now it can be controlled freely. Even if a large flame is ignited, as long as it is released by Ethan, he can extinguish the magic power in it with a thought. At the same time, potions and alchemy are added to the panel, and other aspects have also been improved to a certain extent. If Ethan were to fight Dumbledore now, he would definitely die. But to fight a top wizard like Snape, who is proficient in dark magic and combat, there would be no problem. And the wallet, which was originally shriveled, has become full again during this period. In more than a month, the cumulative sales exceeded 700 bottles, which sounds not much. But we also have to consider the number of people in Hogwarts. There are only about 70 people in a grade, and all the little wizards add up to just over 500. 5 galleons a bottle is not a price that everyone can afford, don't you think, Weasley? Among them, Slytherin contributed the most. There is no way. As a gathering place for pure blood, the students of Slytherin are rich. One academy has the sales volume of the other 2 academies. It was Cassandra who helped Ethan open up the situation in Slytherin. Although she was only a first-year little wizard, she had the endorsement of her family and was very influential in Slytherin. Of course, she did not do it herself, but handed it over to 2 younger brothers. Another point is that Cassandra did not ask for any gold galleons, but only asked Ethan to agree to one condition, and the 2 followers were also voluntary labor. As for the conditions, Ethan agreed without hesitation. He just wanted to compete with her, and she would decide the time. But after waiting for so long, Ethan did not receive her competition notice. Today, Ethan borrowed books from the Hogwarts library as usual and was about to return to the public lounge of Ravenclaw. At this moment, 5 Slytherin students stopped in front of Ethan. "Are you Ethan Adrian?" The little wizard in the lead was arrogant, and he almost pointed his finger at Ethan's head. "Yes, who are you? If you have nothing to do, get out of the way." Ethan would not have a good attitude towards those who were obviously looking for trouble, and looked at them with a mocking look on his face. "Bullying? School violence? Would I, Ethan, be afraid of this? I'm only afraid that you're not violent enough, that you don't dare to start first. Thinking that you have some talent, you don't take others seriously. This is not okay. Today, let the senior teach you how to greet the senior in Hogwarts." Before the leader spoke, a follower behind him couldn't stand it anymore and drew his wand to start. They are the lowest group in Slytherin. The contempt chain is like this: pure blood despises half-blood, and half-blood despises muggle wizards. And there are no muggle wizards in Slytherin, so they are the lowest group. So that these fourth-year students can only huddle together for warmth, and of course this huddle should be despised and must continue. Now being mocked by muggle wizards, this directly shattered his self-esteem, which was already broken into pieces, even more. "Harvey, have you forgotten our purpose?" The leader waited for a look from this man named Harvey and knew to fight. "Can fighting solve the problem?" "Sorry, Barry." Harvey apologized immediately, and it was obvious that he was the lowest in this small group. "Hand over the formula of the BAFE brain refresher that you stole? Go straight to the point and find a reason." Even if Ethan reported it to Dumbledore later, they would insist that it was Ethan who stole their family potion book, and he found the potion formula in it. Otherwise, how could a muggle wizard have such a precious potion? But it won't work like the idiot before. You hit him, he has wounds on his body, and there are people watching him. If he still insists on not handing over the formula, Dumbledore will have a reason to intervene, and they will suffer the loss, and they will never have the chance to get the formula in the future. At first, although they were jealous of Ethan's potion, they didn't dare to fight with Ethan, and could only think about it in their minds. But Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle came to them some time ago. They said that Ethan was too popular in the first year and overshadowed the glory of Slytherin, so they wanted them to beat Ethan and then snatch his potion. Crabbe and Goyle didn't want the formula of Buffy's brain-stimulating potion, which was their own spoils. The Crabbe and Goyle families had no status, but everyone knew that they were backed by the Malfoy family. The older generation followed Lucius Malfoy, and the younger generation followed Draco Malfoy. Although the Malfoy family has fallen into decline over the years, they can still speak among pureblood wizards and are still school directors. It can be said that they dared to put their ideas into action because they believed that they had the support of the Malfoy family behind them. "I stole your potion formula? Tell me, what is the formula of the Barfy brain refresher? Since you falsely accuse me of stealing yours, then you must know what is in the formula, or is it that your brains are filled with troll feces and you can't even remember the potion formula?" Ethan looked at them with a mocking look on his face. So this is what they were thinking. All along, when Ethan gave the Barfy brain refresher to Fred and the others to sell, he didn't hide it. It was okay for others to know about it. But I didn't expect that someone in Hogwarts would do this robbery. Dumbledore, the headmaster, is still incompetent. Episode 49, Fear that the school is not violent enough. "Mudblood, what are you talking about?" Barry, who had not intended to take action, was immediately enraged. Just now, Ethan was just not nice to them, but now he was completely at odds with them. He said that their heads were filled with troll feces, which was even more outrageous than what Snape said. If it got out, they would have no face left and would not be able to stay in Slytherin, even though they were not doing well in the first place. "I say, your heads are filled with troll feces. Is there something wrong with your ears?" Ethan cast a loud spell on himself and projected the sentence to the entire area. Since they were deaf, Ethan helped them. "Lowly mudbloods, all stone." Barry's face turned red, and he drew out his wand to aim at Ethan, but before he finished the spell, he was hit by a red light, and the whole person was like being hit by a high-speed car, flying 4 or 5 meters away. Repel spell, a very simple basic magic. Since he had consulted Professor Flitwick on spellcasting techniques, and with the improvement during this period, Ethan could cast spells silently even if he had not practiced too many times. "Now it's your turn." After knocking down one, Ethan turned around and looked at the remaining 4 Slytherin snakes. These were his companions, and they had to share the joys and sorrows. You don't come over here." The wizard named Harvey, who had shouted first, trembled and retreated. Today he knew what a genius was. The spell that had just knocked Barry away was definitely a silent spell. They were still reciting spells honestly in their 4th year, and the gap was too big. And he knocked down the strongest Barry with one strike. How could he fight? What are you afraid of? He is only one person. Let's attack together, and the advantage is mine. One of the wizards shouted loudly, as if this could increase their courage, but his trembling hands still betrayed him. However, it seemed to have some effect. The other 3 who heard his words immediately drew their wands and pointed them at Ethan. Disarm yourself. Break into pieces. Tear apart. Petrify. Bang. The abdomen of the one who had just screamed the loudest suddenly exploded. Blood and some organs splattered everywhere, some of which hit their companions' faces directly. But a layer of magic shield appeared on Ethan's body, blocking all incoming magic, only splashing ripples. Siphoning energy, absorbing the opponent's magic while exploding the opponent to add a shield to himself, and can also strengthen the next magic. If Ethan hadn't restrained some of his strength, he would have been blown to pieces. After all, in Hogwarts, hurting people and killing people are 2 different concepts. This person is dead. Quick, go find the professor. The wizards who were watching around were panicked. School bullying was not uncommon, and they all watched it as a joke. If they were familiar with it, they would go up to help. Who knew it would be like this time? Ignoring the little snake lying on the ground, Ethan looked at the other 3 who were still standing. With a flick of his wand, the 3 of them were hung upside down, with their tongues stuck to their palates, so that they could not even beg for mercy. They could only watch Ethan approach step by step. This put great psychological pressure on them. Ethan's hand without the wand clenched in the air, and 5 wands flew into Ethan's hand. The invisible blade gently cut through the 5 wands, breaking them into 2 pieces, revealing the damaged wand core inside. There is no doubt that all these wands are useless. Although the wands are innocent, it's better to forget about following such a master. One of the wands was left in his hand, and the others were discarded by Ethan, and then transfiguration was performed. The half-wand began to enlarge and lengthen, and finally turned into a baseball bat. Putting away the wand and carrying the baseball bat, Ethan walked towards the 3 wizards hanging upside down with a friendly smile. He directly ignored the few little wizards around who wanted to come up to dissuade him but didn't dare to. After coming to Hogwarts for such a long time, Ethan has always acted harmless. Apart from his good academic performance, there is nothing else. This is why people feel that he is easy to bully. So much so that these guys came to my door directly. Today, I will tell these classmates whether I am easy to bully or not. Don't be afraid, take a deep breath, yes, it will be over soon. Ethan patted one of them on the face and whispered in his ear. After thinking about it, he decided to untie the 3 people's tongue and throat lock. After all, it would be a pity if no screams were heard during this process. Bang! Ethan hit the joint of his left arm with a baseball bat, and suddenly a scream like a pig was slaughtered. The little snake hung upside down covered his injured arm, and his face turned pale, looking at Ethan with a pleading face. Bang! The right arm covering his left arm also fell down weakly. Next is the legs. Forget about the 5th limb. The impact is not good. Ethan still pays attention to his reputation. Please, let us go. We will give you Galleons and be your subordinates. The other 2 begged for mercy in panic. They would rather faint like the 2 who fell to the ground. How could Ethan pay attention to their pleas for mercy? He raised the baseball bat and followed the 2 with the sound of 8 broken bones. Don't worry, you are companions. They can't run away. When turning around, Ethan did not forget to comfort the 3. Walking to the little snake whose abdomen was blown open, Ethan did not use the baseball bat this time, but directly raised his foot and stomped on it. For the wound on its abdomen, he directly used a forced transformation to stop the bleeding. As for what would happen next, it was none of my business as long as they didn't die. If this was not Hogwarts, the winged demons would have eaten their brains and the bats would have eaten their bodies. Mr. Adrian, I was wrong. Please forgive me. It was Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle who asked us to come. Really, it was their idea. And Draco Malfoy was behind this. Seeing Ethan approaching, Barry, who pretended to be unconscious after being knocked away, could no longer hold back. He quickly got up and begged for mercy. Really? Ethan sneered, then hit his teeth with a stick, making his mouth full of blood. Swallow it. It was still the smiling face, but Barry didn't dare to disobey. Although he was very obedient, he still had to have the set meal. None of the brothers could be missing. After doing all this, Ethan threw the bloody baseball bat in his hand aside and waited for the professors to arrive. Although it was self-defense, there would definitely be punishment for what he did, and Ethan was ready for this. Episode 50, Malfoy is scared. Ethan, you're okay. Penelope came with more than a dozen young Ravenclaw wizards. After seeing the scene in front of her, she didn't know what to say. Because she was too flustered, she forgot Ethan's strength. Now thinking back, what she should worry about is whether these Slytherins will be beaten to death. Just after the last class, she saw a panicked Ravenclaw third-year girl. As a class leader, Penelope naturally had to ask about it. After knowing that Ethan was bullied by 5 senior Slytherins, she brought the 5th-year classmates and the Ravenclaw students she met on the way. It's a pity that this little Ravenclaw wizard didn't see the end and didn't know the subsequent development. She thought Ethan would be bullied badly. When Ethan was surrounded, she had just come out of the Hogwarts library with a companion. Seeing the Slytherin students bullying the Ravenclaw students, she and her companion, both third-year wizards, did not dare to step forward, nor did they choose to watch the fun. One of them went to find Professor Flitwick, and the other went to the Ravenclaw common room for help. The one who went to the Ravenclaw common room met Penelope halfway, so they were able to come so quickly. Have you thought about the consequences of doing this? After a moment of silence, Penelope whispered in Ethan's ear. It seems that she went a little too far, and a lesson is enough. Now these people are all disabled. Fortunately, they're in the wizarding world and can recover, otherwise there will be big problems. And Ethan's wand is broken, which is too cruel. Breaking a wand can be said to be a life-and-death feud. Of course, Penelope looked at the state of these guys, and they were all afraid to the bone. They certainly didn't dare to take revenge, but the impact was still not good. More importantly, will Ethan be expelled for such a heavy hand? No consequences, the worst that can happen is a detention. These guys are not dead, just a few bottles of potion will be enough. Isn't their dean a potion master? Ethan said indifferently. Expelled? Ethan is sure that it is impossible. Not to mention that they were the first to find trouble and use the wand. And whose dean is not protective of his shortcomings, Professor Flitwick will not stand idly by. Even Dumbledore can't expel Ethan. Although Ethan is not Harry and can't get his special treatment, Ethan's talent is definitely worth Dumbledore's attention. What will happen after Ethan is expelled? The wizards who are expelled from the school have conflicts with some pure-blooded and half-blood wizards, and their talents are still quite explosive. In this case, unless they can be killed at once, there will be endless troubles. But judging from Ethan's current strength, it is not so easy to kill Ethan if he wants to hide after leaving Hogwarts. He will definitely come into contact with dark wizards and stir up trouble. It is hard to say whether he will become the next Voldemort, but the wizarding world will definitely not be at peace. For this reason, Dumbledore will never fire Ethan unless he is a moron. He would feel more at ease if he left him at school than outside. Are you sure he won't be expelled? Penelope was still a little worried, as Hogwarts had a precedent of expulsion. Sure. Ethan nodded affirmatively. Penelope didn't say anything more, as Ethan didn't need her comfort in this situation. She was just a little worried about Ethan's mental state. Penelope, who went to the room of requirement with Ethan from time to time, knew that Ethan was very good at using dark magic, and dark magic was more or less negative, so she was afraid that Ethan would be affected. At this moment, another group of people came. They were the crowd attracted by the miserable howling just now. They came out of the library, and there were little wizards from all 4 colleges. Ethan, what's going on? Cassandra and Hermione were also in this group of people, and they came to Ethan. Although she didn't know the specific process, she knew that Ethan was the protagonist just by looking at him like this. These guys wanted to steal the formula of the BAFE brain refresher. I didn't give it to them, so they started fighting. In the end, I won. If Dumbledore embarrasses you, I will tell my father. After saying that, Cassandra stepped back and returned to the crowd. Knowing the reason, it was caused by these scums who tarnished the honor of Slytherin. Naturally, she would not let Ethan be the one targeted. This was her opponent she had chosen for the next 7 years. What would I do if he was expelled? My father, the director of the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes, still had a certain weight in the British wizarding world. Even Dumbledore could not ignore it. And Hermione was so anxious that she almost cried. She was now the kind of good student who strictly followed the various rules and regulations of Hogwarts. She had never gone on a night tour with Harry, Ronald, and others, or the two sides were not very familiar with each other at all. After all, Hermione, who had been beaten by Ethan in the area she was best at, liked to compete for the first place, but she didn't like to preach and be arrogant like in the original book, and she could add points to Gryffindor from time to time. This allowed him to make a few friends among the Gryffindor girls, so naturally, he wouldn't get close to the representatives of bad students. The main reason for deducting points, Harry and Ronald, because of a brief encounter on the train. So much so that Hermione, a good student who had not yet understood the true meaning of Hogwarts, had already determined in her heart that Ethan was basically going to be expelled, no escape. As the incident spread wildly, more and more students gathered around, such as the twins, Cedric, Xiaozhang, and Harry. They all heard the noise and ran over to ask Ethan about some situations and expressed their concern. Of course, Malfoy, one of the culprits, was also hiding in the crowd and watching. These 5 unlucky Slytherins were contacted by them, and the two sides also met before departure, so Draco and others were waiting for good news not far away, but they didn't expect it to be such a result. Now looking at the few people who were all disabled, they began to sweat. Ethan was so good at fighting. He hit 5 fourth-year students by himself and was so cruel. When the conflict happened on the train, I don't know how many hands he had left. I just don't know if they have been betrayed. If they have been, Ethan will know that it was me who pushed this matter. Thinking of this, Draco's legs trembled, and he wanted to slap himself. Why bother to provoke him for no reason? Goyle Crab, let's go back. Draco was a little unsteady when he walked, and let the two of them support him to walk to the Slytherin dormitory. He just wanted to stay away from Ethan.